CBS2 has learned we will never see Kenneka Jenkins walk into the hotel freezer where she was found dead. The reason? That video doesn't exist. Here's CBS2's Audrina Begas.
I want to see her literally actually walking into this freezer.
Kenneka Jenkins' mother wants to see it to believe it, but now we know that will not happen. According to the Crowne Plaza Hotel in Rosemont, there is no video of Kenneka Jenkins walking into a freezer. We do see Kenneka walking in this lower level kitchen in the hotel. She stumbles, turns the corner, and then she goes out of frame. But then she's captured here by another camera stumbling in the kitchen.
No one from Crowne Plaza Hotel responds to her.
Video time codes appear to show Kenneka roaming the hotel for more than an hour. First, Kenneka is walking with friends. There's a time gap, and then she's later seen by herself. At one point, she stumbles out of an elevator. Later, she repeatedly hits the wall walking down a hallway.
We will get to the bottom of it. We will only go to where the facts lead us.
Last week, attorneys for Kenneka's family said they would be conducting their own independent investigation. Today, attorney Larry Rogers Jr. toured the hotel for about an hour. A hotel spokesperson says Rogers took pictures inside, asked questions, and walked in all of the areas that video shows Kenneka walking. And we're here live now outside the Crowne Plaza Hotel where you'll see some flashing lights behind me. That's because dozens of protesters are circling the hotel as police watch over them right now. Kenneka's mother is in that crowd. It's been nearly 10 days since her body was found here at the hotel, but still no toxicology or autopsy results have been released. We did ask the hotel today if they're doing any type of internal investigation regarding the monitoring of their surveillance cameras. They say they are constantly reviewing their safety and security policies. Live in Rosemont, Audrina Begas, CBS 2 News. Rob and Erica.
Learn we will never see Kenneka Jenkins walk into the hotel freezer where she was found dead. The reason? That video doesn't exist. Here's CBS 2's Audrina Begas.
I want to.
Hello, everybody. Top of the morning, top of the evening, top of the night, whatever time zone you are on, we are live. It's coming up to the 3-year anniversary of Kenneka Jenkins, and we will never see video footage of her walking into the freezer because it doesn't exist, per the Crowne Plaza Hotel month. Now, for all the gainsayers, naysayers, and whoever, there it is. It's a flashback. With that being said, to everybody else, hello, everybody. We got a night tonight of explaining the forensics analysis that was conducted. So we're going to do some flashbacks and we're going to pull it forth. With that being said, let's go. Let's get started. Different music tonight. Disclaimer, parental consent. The videos will be graphic in content and may be too graphic for some viewers. Therefore, viewers' discretion is needed as well as parental consent. This is not for minors. Again, hello, everybody. Top of the morning, top of the evening, top of the night, whatever time zone you are on, we are live. Coming in today with some different music. Let's get this fired up. And let's go. Let's get into it. Y'all ready? Is it all right if I get in my zone? All right, let me get in my zone real quick. I got to get in my zone. Is that all right? I need that Lauren to get me in my zone. Let's go.
How we nice it up on the rhythm. So many wanna got a headgear from one mother. With no bars like my back, now I live under. The line can say brothers, watch back as we go bananas. Watch back as we go bananas.
Y'all ready to go? Go.
I think original, I heard the paradigm. Put me the red tape, put me the mastermind. See how I
hey, Chad, what's up? Go. Linda, Marcia, Penny, Fire Mama, Honeybee, Pretty D, Tasha.
So stop acting like you didn't grow up singing my songs. I swooped down on this bitch like I had wings on my arms. Transcendent, speak truth like I wrote the amendments. Sorry if you're offended, it's the truth in my veins. Birds, bees, and trees will probably tell you the same. Mention my name is the same, they like to my brain. How she still doing the thing, how she still raise the plane. Conquer before we came, we conquer before we came. Emojis in all flames. And the game was never the same.
Y'all ready to slice it up?
The same. And I'm the original. I heard the paradigm. Pull me the red tape, pull me the master. See how we nice it up on this rhythm. So
we gon' nice it up.
See, this is X Factor. He took the sample. My shit is classic. It's an example of how we nice it up on this rhythm. So many wanna nice it up. See, this is X Factor. He took the sample.
This is the true factor tonight.
It's an example of how we nice it up on this rhythm.
Trying to slice it up. We gonna nice it up back tonight.
That is his X Factor. He took the sample. This shit is classic. It's an example of how we nice it up on this rhythm. Wanna spice it up on this rhythm.
Let's go, J4K. On Purple Hearts. Let's go. Let's run those Purple Hearts. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get started. Can I get y'all to run those Purple Hearts? Let's run them. Let's run them. Run them. Let's run those Purple Hearts. Purple Hearts, J4K, community, you know what to do. All right. Hey, Amp, I sent you the link. Amp Easy is in the bottom. Linda, Purple Hearts, let's go. We know what it stands for, J4K. Let's go. Some people believe she walked in the freezer, but Crown Plaza admitted to the news over 3 years ago. There is no video footage of her walking into the freezer. Period. Simple. That's very much understandable. I don't see how you can mix that up. But let's get off into this. All right. Now, let me go back here because I'm gonna do some flashbacks. Just let me get off into this and put my playlist up of videos. And I'm starting off, I'm gonna answer AMP question tonight. But before I answer AMP question tonight, we gotta lay a foundation. You know how we do. We got to lay a foundation and explain some of the terms so you all can have just a little bit clarity, and I will be watching the chat for questions, and I will try to answer as many as I can. And if I don't get to your question, you can always email me and I will give a detailed breakdown via email. All right. So let's go. Let's get to this. Again, hello, everybody. Let me blow this up real good so we can see it before I do the share. Thank you, Teeny. Nobody, some people believed it, but we didn't. Hey, Fire Mama, how you doing? Yes. 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 Okay, let's get to this. Let's get to this. Now, what's important? Authentication and validation, right? The integrity of the data at all times. Not only that, the way you collect, store, and maintain the data, the way you handle the data from start to finish. All of that is vital because data is extremely what? Fragile, okay? And we know per the reports from the police department in Rosemont that they didn't go in and get acquisition of the IP surveillance system. We already know that. Okay, so Justin, this is what he's using. This is who he works for. Revision, the platform, the bit, 64-bit. He's just explaining. He did a table of contents. I did a table of contents when I pull up for clarity, and it's going to be real simple. It won't be my detailed one that I normally do, but I want to get right here. Okay. So local analysis. Statement of duty. Can we look at his statement of duty real quick? He understands that his duty as a forensic analyst is to assist the court by providing impartial, objective, and unbiased and independent opinions, uninfluenced by the party who has retained me. And those of us who paid and were involved or did some type of contribution and was spearheading that, we are considered the parties involved. Some of this may not make sense to you, but MD5 hash, that deals with authentication, validation. See, he got the hard drive from who? Rosemont. When he got the hard drive from Rosemont, he had to what? Authenticate. That means verify via write blocking that he would not alter the drive or the data he had himself, that he would do no altercations, that he would not. That's what hash values are. MD5, that's a hash value. SHA1, that's an older hash value. Now, SH2 and SH256 are the new hash. They can have more characters and they're longer and more intense than detail. So what he did was authenticate and validate on his end as it relates to the copy he got. That's what this is. Authentication and validation. All that's important, right? We heard that before. Authenticate, validate. Authenticate, validate. Authenticity of what you've been given. Validation that what you've been given is not a corrupt. That you don't have corrupt portions of what you've been given, right? From what he investigated. Data integrity. That's vital here, okay? So that's what that is. We're gonna get into hexadecimals. We're gonna get into input files, filter information, all of that. I just wanna go to the bottom really quick. Really quick. I wanna go to page 37. Let's get to the nitty gritty of what his conclusion was. All right. After the global analysis, and let me blow this up so everyone can see it just a little bit more. Let me slow it down. I want to make sure that everybody can see this nice and strong. Soup Bone, how you doing? Okay, Amp. So everybody can see the conclusion summary, right? Do you guys need me to blow that up any larger Or is that good on your end? Because it looks good on my end, but that doesn't mean that you can see it like you should be able to see it. Okay. I guess you all are okay. Okay. So here it is. This was his conclusion at the end of the day. And it's not new. And I'll explain why. After global analysis, it can be concluded that the evidence appears to be consistent with VivoTrack devices original. However, further analysis of what surveillance systems will be needed for a complete global comparative analysis. In other words, what he's saying is he don't have the original hard drives from the day the incident occurred that captured the data in real time, that was capturing the data in real time, right? Going across the network. He doesn't have that to compare and contrast the two. So it goes back to where the original hard drives. Again, excuse me. Again, when you are in this field of digital forensics, you can't speak to the data integrity of somebody else's work when you don't have a bit by bit copy of the original hard drives, and you get a copy of a copy, and there's no documentation, no chain of custodies prior to it hitting the police hands. You can't go in and say, I can 100% or I can definitively say that no edits took place. You would need a copy, a forensic copy, a solid forensic copy, a bit by bit copy of all of the hard drives. So that's what he's telling you. He don't have an original hard drive. All he can do is analyze what he's been given, just like the rest of us did, which just confirms what we've been saying for the last 3 years. We need originals. We need copies, authenticated and validated copies of the original. Then we can say. So he's saying, after the local analysis, it can be concluded that the evidence files are consistent with no apparent sign of informative alteration. Now he's talking about according to the drives he was given. But before that, keep in mind, he said, I would need the surveillance system. Why? Because hard drives and the operating systems on the inside of the surveillance system. Yeah. See, because volatile and non-volatile. See, if at any time, for any reason, somebody powered down any operating system as it relates to IP surveillance system, what's vital is gone. Non-volatile information always is stored. You power off the information there when you power it back on. You boot off, you boot it back up, it's gonna be there. But some information, you boot up, you boot back on, it's no longer there. Not only that, it's a different set of algorithms. So the hypothesis is that the evidence files contain informative content alteration, has no subject, but he's saying, again, he was very careful. However, further analysis, he said it looked consistent, but I need, what he's saying is, I need surveillance systems. We already knew that. We knew that. Hi, Cha-Cha. Okay, we already knew that. So I wanted to get to that. And again, anytime you see an MD5, SHA within this report that deals with authentication and validation. He had to authenticate what he had been given so he could prove that he wasn't tampering with anything. That's vital. Data integrity is everything. Everything. In these cases, data integrity is everything. Everything. Now, is everybody understanding that? Let me go to, and I'm gonna get to the questions. I see some questions in the bottom. And so, hard drive. On Toshiba external hard drive, he's listing the file size, a terabit. That was the file size of the hard drive. It was a terabit. But just because it was a terabit doesn't mean it was a terabit of data on there. That's just the hard drive size. That's just the size of the hard drive. So if there's any questions about that, let's get that out of the way. Okay. And what he used, the software he used was iInput ACE version 2.5 and versions 2.6. So he's ACE certified. Years ago, I was ACE certified and I have to recertify. And that's just saying, you know how to properly use their software tool and as it pertains to omission of electronic data in the court, as it relates to data being admissible in a court of law. So that's what that is. Thanks, little mama. So that's what that is. Now, let me stop real quick because I have to pull my explanation up so we can lay a foundation, because people up here are like, what in the world are all these words? I was streaming live yesterday and I was listening to Amp in the background at the same time and I was laughing. I got so tickled. And he was like, all this stuff seems boring to me. And I was thinking, I love it. I love it. I was thinking, wait a minute. Because math is solvable and science is provable. So when he started talking about math, I said, yes, it is math, and a lot of it. And a lot of it. It's math and science. It's science and math, and a lot of it. Okay, let me just do this post real quick. All right. Okay. Hi, Kim. How you doing? Yeah, cover up, but ain't no sleeping in Rosemont. Let's go. We know what to say. All right. Let me pull this up really quick. Let's get to it. And again, this is just laying a foundation, and then we're going to jump right back into that report. But before we get to the report, I have to lay a foundation for you all so we can go over some terms so we can be on one accord as much as possible. Okay? Is that all right? I have to lay a foundation so we can go over terminology, because some of y'all are looking like, what in the world? What in the world is this? What is going on? What's happening? And this is where we are. J4K, 3 years and running. We standing tall. We not backing back. We want some form of justice, and we will pursue until we get it. All right. Now, I didn't do this in any specific order when I started just writing down meanings to words that's in there. You'll see photo response, non-unified map, noise characteristics of an imaging sensor, a fixed noise platform used in the camera, source identification. When uniform light falls on a camera sensor, each pixel should output the exact same value. The difference between true response from a sensor and the uniform response, okay? So when you see photo response non-uniformity map, you can know what it means. We all know what it means. Let me move on to the next one. Clone key points. A clone is a comprehensive duplicate of electronic media, hard disk drives. This is a bit by bit copy of the media source. I'm always screaming and hollering. Where's bit by bit copy? They are working copies to replace the original evidence for analysis, also for preservation purposes. They are working snapshots of the drives. So when you see clone key points, okay, hash. You see this throughout his report. I said this deals with authentication, right? Where a hash, a SHA-1, SHA-2, is an error detection scheme that performs calculation on binary values of the packet frames, and then it appends that packet frame to a fixed length field. So when all of you were looking at those binary numbers, you were like, what in the world is going on? I heard Amp say, what in the world? When you look at that binary, when you look at hexadecimals, people were like, what is this? What is this? Well, you have a header, you have the data, and you have the footer. You have the beginning of the packet of data that's being sent, and you have the ending of the packet of data that's being sent, and you have the data in the middle that's being transmitted. What happens? What's moving across the network at all times? Data. Data is being transmitted across the network at all times. At all times. It's traveling across the network. And this is the way the data travels across the network. Okay, so when we talk about hash values and shades and different things like that, we're talking about authentication and validation. We're talking about the calculation of sums, checksums, and a remainder of divisions of resulting of the hashing functions of the original device that validate if the media is exact. Is it an exact duplicate? That means, is it forensically sound copy, or is it something else? So a hash representation is a block of data. We saw blocks of data in that report. Okay, so let's move on. Yes, it is math. Hey, got it all day. It's all math. Okay, so I just go through and reiterate. Hash algorithms, secure hash algorithms. A way to quickly authenticate and decrypt specific shared information, such as SSL, which means secure socket layer certificates that we rely on to get us to the right path, other than being trapped by hackers and fraudulent middlemen. Again, certificates, a unique hash of certificates and signatures to verify and authenticate and validate that the data has not been tampered with, altered, modified, or deleted. Authentication, validation, important. Data integrity, vital. Okay, Amp was like, what in the world is a histogram? A histogram is nothing but a chart that shows frequencies and for intervals of values of metric variables. That's it. It's a chart that's going to show the frequencies of intervals of values of metric variables, such intervals known as bins. They always have the same width. They represent numerical data. This is math. Math is solvable. Science is provable. Just going over some definition. Hexadecimals. Here we go. Now, this is where I do a little teaching. A mathematical notation for representing numbers in base 16. Okay, let's talk about an oscillate. An oscillate contains 8 bits. Okay, we're dealing with numbers, right? In terms of the data going across the internet, across the network, we're dealing with numbers, math. The number 10 through 15 are expressed as A through F. So we get off into the hexadecimals being replaced because that would have been too much. That would be too many numbers. Trying to load into that, bandwidth. We have payloads. Payloads are data sets that need to travel across the internet. So we had to the versions changed of the protocols, and we had to simplify as much as possible so we can get larger data sets moving across the internet in a more efficient manner. So if you write 10H or 0 times 10, they're both the same hexadecimal. That equals 16. That's all. This is math. Math is solvable. Science is provable. Okay, microblock analysis, group pictures, videos made up of 3 different types of images that are stored in GOP as it relates to MPEG streams, live streams, group pictures, intra predicted, bidirectional predicted. I don't want to spend too much time on that because I want to go right back into the hexadecimal and decimal to binary conversion table. Now, in this, the first 2 rows are binary and exponent values of each bit. So when we get to that report, it's going to make a little bit more sense to you. The first 2 rows are binary and exponent values of each bit of an 8-bit number. 8 bits are used because of subnetting that takes place as it relates to IP addresses and addressing the movement of data across the internet. The majority of the work can be done 8 bits at a time. The 3rd row is what you complete to determine the decimal number the binary represents. And all this is, you see 128, you see 64, you see 32, you see 16, you see 8, you see 2, you see 2, and you see 1. Now we can conclude that we're dealing with bits, 8, right? 2 times 4 is 8. 8 times 8 is 16. So on and so forth. The 2nd row is 2 to the 7th power equals 128. 2 to the 6th power equals 64. 2 to the 5th power, 32. 2 to the 4th power, 16. 2 to the 3rd power, 8. 2 to the 2nd power, 4. 2 to the 1st power, 2. 2 to the 0 power, 1. So on and so forth. This is math. Math is solvable and science is provable. So when you start, so now when we look at those hexadecimals, it'll make a little bit more sense. When we're looking at that data now, when I pull the data up and we look at it, it'll make a little bit more sense. Decimal to binaries. So we're dealing with binary. Now it will make a little bit more sense to you. The exponential expansion of 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1 is highlighted. Zero, 2 to the 7th power, 2 to the 6th power, Now, the way it's written out, but instead of writing it out like that, look at the bottom, look at the last row. This is the way we want it to show, right? The ones and the zeros. With letters, A through F. That's what you're seeing. That's what you're getting ready to see. Hexadecimal are numbers and letters. Is everybody with me so far? Hi, Queen. Is everybody with me so far? This is math. Math is solvable and science is provable. This is science and math. So the reason I wanted to lay this foundation is because, like I said, we're going to go back to the report. We're going to pull some stuff up, and then you won't be looking like, what are all these numbers? No. Hexadecimals, binaries, that's all it is in the middle. You got a header. You got packets of data traveling across the network. It needs a header attached to it. That header gets assigned a number. You need the body attached to it, the data, a body attached to it as well. That gets assigned a number. And you need the footer. That's the ending. You have a starting and you have an ending point. That gets assigned a number as well. As packets of data are what? Traveling across the internet or being transmitted across the internet. So just to make this make a little bit more sense. Now, I don't know if y'all can see this real good because I call myself, but I don't think I did a good job with this. I should have made this a little bit darker. Okay, packet size has substantial impact on the performance of data transmission, the size of the packets. Now we're gonna get to this in a minute. Compression, depression. What needs to happen with the data that's traveling across the internet? Our voice, videos that contain voice, videos that contain images and still shots, all of that has to be compressed. All of that gets compressed, traveling across the internet. All of it, compression. All this data is compressed, traveling across. We need to compress it. Why? Because if we didn't, we would have extremely large data sets traveling across the internet. Who remember dial-up? We didn't have enough what? Bandwidth, and everybody would be crashing. So as we went from Web 1.0 to Web 2.0, merging into Web 3.0, that deals with the bandwidth that's available for us to utilize, accessing the internet, right? As well as the internet being more interactive, not just in a read-only mode, but we can interact with the internet now. We can go on and shop. We can go on and download things. We can go on and live stream. We can go on and game now. So I have to make this make sense. Data is always being transmitted across the network. And that data that's being transmitted across the network needs to be compressed. And the way that data reads are in numerical values. Simple. So when we get to that report, because like I said, I have to lay the foundation, you will understand some of what you're seeing. And you won't be like, what is this? Okay, so consider figure 1.9, which compares the transmission of a byte message from node A to node B to node D and C. Assume that for this transmission, we would like to compare the transmission of the message with two different packets. And that's all this is doing. It's comparing and contrasting. And again, a node on a network is a computer connected to the network. It's a printer connected to the network. It's other electronic devices connected to the network, which is an interconnection of networks. Okay, so we got it. All right, so discrete coenzyme transformation. Now, we just talked about compression, right? I said, what's traveling across the internet? What's being transmitted at all times? Data, right? Okay, so when you get to this, when you see this word, you know what it means. Discrete coenzyme transformation. You know what it means. Still images in JPEG compression. That's what that means. Still images in JPEG, the process that they go through, traveling across what? The internet. It's a process that they have to go through because what? Compression needs to happen. We have to compress. So it converts snapshots of real images into matrix of corresponding values. So this, from left to right, is the image that needs to be compressed with loss. When we're talking about compression, we're either going to have lossy or no loss or non-loss. Lossy means the quality is going to change. Non-lossy means the quality and the pixels will not change. Okay, so DCT, discrete coenzyme transformation, quantization and encoding, and then on the end, you have the raw data image as it is getting ready to be sent across the network. This is prior. The left is prior to it being sent. Okay, it's the compression process with loss. So just to explain what some of this means. So when we get to it, we won't look shocked and shook. Now you saw this, you're gonna see this. You're gonna see this. We're gonna come back to this. We're gonna come to this. We're gonna come to this. And we're gonna come to this. Now, these are just some examples I threw in there to explain as it relates to what we are getting ready to see in this report. Now, is everybody with me so far? Does everybody understand? What are we dealing with? Math. Math is solvable and science is provable. Now, let's go back to this report. Let's go back to the report. I want to blow this report up just a little bit more because before I do the share on it, so you all can see and I can see. So I'm going to blow these hexadecimal and the binaries up really, really big, really large, so we can look, see what's going on. Okay, I can blow it up a little larger than this. Yeah, about right there. So now, are we ready? We ready. We went through our little foundation. We ready now? So you'll have a little understanding of what this is. You see this throughout the report, right? Now you don't have to run and be like, what in the world is going on? Now, does this make a little bit more sense to anybody? Hey, Lady T's Design, how you doing? Hi, G Money. Does this make a little bit more sense to anybody now? And I'm gonna pause for a minute. I went through the other ones really quick, but is this making a little bit more sense to anybody right now than it did yesterday? Just a little bit more sense. Now you're looking at these numbers and you know you see A's through here. You see A's, you see E's, you see other, you know you're dealing with what? Hexadecimals. And you know you're dealing with what? Binary. You know you're dealing with what? Numbers, numerical values, numbers. You know you're dealing with what? Math. Now, this should make a little bit more sense to everybody right now. Just a little bit more. And I'll leave that there and let y'all look at it just for a minute. Should make a little bit more sense. So people won't be like, what in the world? People was like, what in the world is going on? Now, what's in the middle? What do we have in the middle? The hex value, right? The hexadecimal values and binaries. The bytes and their file size and sequence. And the sequence of the bytes that are what? That have what? Already traveled across the internet. This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. Now, does everybody understand that? But let's go over here. Now I'm gonna slow it down for a minute. To the far right of your screen, to the far right, you should see, if you on an operating system like I am, which is Windows, the metadata. Now, when you see words that you can read, that's dealing with the metadata that we can extract that's associated with this file that has traveled across the internet, that can be extracted, viewed, analyzed, so on and so forth. This is what you're seeing now. Hey. Hey, Tiffany, how you doing? Now, is this making a little bit more sense to everybody? So you can breathe a little bit. Now, let me blow this up. Again, I'm trying to make it big for my own sake so we can read it. So we can read. All right. So what do we see here? If we go 1, 2, 3, we start going 3 lines down, we see HTTP, right? We see a header. We see metadata as it relates to headers. Metadata is different types of metadata. Information about information, the hidden, the embedded information. Now you get to see it. Because when you look at the internet, do you see all this? When we were looking at those videos, did we see all this information attached to every video? Or attached to every picture? No, we didn't. This is the metadata. And what happens? We can start reading through here. I sign for authorized use, verification sign class, public primary certification authority. We can start reading through here. You start reading through here. And what do we see right here? Let me pause and make sure y'all can see it in the blue highlight. We see Vivo track, right? Right, G-Money. I'm gonna wait a minute before I start sliding back over. Okay, now you should be able to see the blue Vivo tab. Well, let's stroll back over towards the left. On that same line. And let's see if they line up straight across. Now let's look at the hex value for the metadata Vivo. track. Right here, you see that? And then you see Vivo highlighted. This is the metadata for these numbers right here. Vivo take us the metadata for these numbers, for the hexadecimals. Now you can read what it says, right? But if you just looked at these numbers right here, you wouldn't know that meant Vivo tech. Okay. I'm gonna just leave it there for a minute. Let me break it down so people can see that it's on the same. I'll decrease the size and then I'll blow it back up because this little mini stuff don't work for me. So we can see. And yes, I was reading through everything last night, going through line by line by line, because in the center is the way you catch hackers as well as the metadata on the side. But before you even get to the metadata on the side, you can look at the hexadecimals and the binary in the middle and kind of see the pattern. If something is a little off, and you can start saying, okay, this is what a hack occurred. This is what an altercation, modification, or something happened right here. Now, hopefully everybody understand, like I said, and this is, I had to lay a foundation just so everybody can understand a little bit more. And these numbers, the far left represents the offset that's used as the information is being transmitted. Okay, so what he says is, let's pull it up. Let me blow it up. Again, when you look at all these numbers, 45, A1, 18, 80, 16, 68, 70, 74, 74, 70, 3A, F2, F2, 77, 77, and 77, 2E, 76, 69, 76, 6F, 74, 65, 6B, 2E, 36, 6F, 6D, 30, 0D, 06, 09, 2A. The metadata should correspond to the hexadecimals and the binary. It should respond to the numerical values in the center. When we need to read it, to analyze it, because a forensic tool has been used. Who want to sit up all day? Now, I showed decimal being converted to binary earlier when we said this is 7 to the second, 2 to the 7th power, 2 to the 6th power, 2. Who want to sit down and write that out all day? Did I write it out? Yeah. Have I written it out before? Yeah. Will I still do it from time to time? Yeah. And then you go back and you check it because math is solvable. You go back and you check your answer and you do all this and you go back and you check your answer. And then, but we have tools that can do this for you. Nobody want to sit up and do this all day by hand. I know. So when it says Adobe header, now I can go here where Ant was saying, wait a minute, I don't want to go to this one yet. I don't even want to go there yet. Not yet. Not yet. Before I even show what's in his report, I got to go back to laying a foundation for my report. I mean, from my notes. But I want to go here. Like I said, header, the beginning of the packet of data that's being transmitted. Footer is the ending of the data that's transmitted across the network. So we got that, right? But AMP, I'm going to answer AMP question right now because he said, what is Adobe doing in there? Adobe, you know, like what's going on? Well, everything leaves a what? A digital fingerprint. On every electronic device, digital fingerprints are left. And you can go back and you can track them and you can see that. Now, what is Adobe doing in here? Let's flash back to almost 3 years ago when I did metadata extractions and I used different forensic toolkits and I was doing, you know, different extractions, just going through analyzing data, so on and so forth. Who did I see and who did I see through there? What software fingerprint did I say was in there? Adobe Photoshop. CS6, the expired version at that time, because that version had expired. The life cycle ended on that. So this is consistent because the math is not going to change. The equations don't change when you are figuring this stuff out. Math is solvable. The equations don't change. So no matter what forensic tool you're using, if you are doing the same thing with that forensic tool, the information should be consistent straight across the board. Now, he just did this 2020. I did it 2017. So AMP said, what is Adobe doing there? Well, remember, Julie Carnes, who works for Target Forensics, she was using Adobe Premiere. Nope, she was using Adobe. Wasn't Premiere Pro, but she was using Adobe. And I said that. I said, well, Julie changed a BMP, which is a bitmap, to a TIFF. And both of those deal with compression and decompression. Neither one of those file formats are compressed. And I said, what did she do that for? I said, is it that she couldn't print? I mean, they both are large file sizes, both of them. And years ago, people used to say, well, we don't want it in the bitmap file. Well, what's the original Kodak? Because this is Windows. This came from Windows. The original Kodak in that would be the bitmap. Bitmap is a map of pixels as it relates to the still shots and the images captured across the network, moving across the network. That's the way Windows store. That's the way it's automatically stored. But what is Adobe doing in here? Leaving digital fingerprints. Who used Adobe? Julie Carnes. She's one of them. Let me stroll back up to that Adobe section, and then I'll go to Adobe header. Now you have Adobe, you have somebody using Adobe and it's leaving a digital fingerprint. Hexadecimal, Adobe header. And Adobe is the way that an Adobe header reads. It's the way that an Adobe footer reads in terms of a numerical value. Is everybody understanding that? No. Let me pause that for a minute. And I thought I had my, playlist up of videos that I did, because I want to start, like I said, I wanted to start off answering AMP question. He was like, what in the world is Adobe? Well, Julie Carnes was using Adobe. And when she used Adobe to do whatever, and could have been more people, the digital fingerprint showed up. Everything leaves a digital fingerprint. Well, let me go to Julie. And I said, what was she doing using an expired version of Adobe Photoshop for? Some people may not be ticky, but I was. Because I know when you use expired version of things, and when I say expired, I mean the life cycle has died, it ended. the company that produce and manufacture the software are no longer updating that software. That's dangerous. Worms, viruses, Trojan horses. Data is vital. Anything can compromise the integrity of data. What is Adobe doing in there? Well, who was using Adobe? One person we know for sure was Julie Carnaz. And where did Julie work for? Target Forensic. How do we know that? She was in the police report. How else did we know that? We used our forensic tools in 2017 to find out. That's how we know. So this is not new to a lot of people. When you looked at it, I think a lot of people looked at it and was like, but I'm saying we've seen this before. You've seen it before. If you've seen my videos, you've seen it before. You just probably forgot, but you've seen it before. Now let me pull this up on Julie, because I did a couple of videos. Remember, in 2017, I used 3 different tools, forensic tools. I used an open source tool. I used a free tool, when I used a certified forensic tool. But the data never changed. Okay, but let's go here. All right, I'm cueing the video in the background. So she did some enhancing, right? Changing some file formats. Okay, now let me put this in big form so y'all can see it. And it's just, I should have, when I did this video, I should have, now that I'm looking at it, it's a little bit light. I should have did something with sharpening so it can be just a little bit more vivid. Okay, so here it is.
Stroll
This is 2017.
down and
Here go again. I'm just looking at it from different views.
look at who actually
Here it is again.
enhanced, altered, and changed some image.
See,
It
Julie
was
name is
Julie.
showing up.
Julie works for Target Forensic
She was
Lab
using Adobe.
or Target Forensics. And in here you can see she used Photoshop version CS6. Life cycle has expired and ended on that version. But we're going to move on.
Okay. And so when you see, pause for a minute.
Julie is
When you
certified.
see Adobe show up as it relates to that specific file he was analyzing, no surprise there. It showed up almost more than 3 years ago. I just did a little bit more explaining and highlighting, but it's the same Adobe version. I went in and said, who was using what? Now, I wanted to see different views, you know, because when you're using a forensic tool, you can go through and you can look at it different ways. And I wanted to say, hey, who's doing this? And then I needed a confirmation. Okay, Julie did it. She works for Target Forensics. She's in the police report. Whatever Julie did, as well as what others did, it left a digital fingerprint. Is everybody understanding that? Why Adobe? Perry, how you doing, Perry? And my usually when you're getting ready to print, the old best practice or standard was that when you have to print a file out, you don't print it in a bitmap. You don't print the bitmap file out because it was too large. But that, I mean, technology, they argue that point all day, that you can print it out, that a TIFF is just as large as the bitmap. Neither one of them deal with compression. Those images are not, those are non-compressed pixels. So there's no loss there. But it's an argument over the file size. Both of them got large file sizes. Years ago, long time ago, most people couldn't print that way. They couldn't print it, so they would have to convert it. Well, this was 2017. We were far past the era of not being able to print bitmap files. Long time ago, we had passed that, and that's why I said, what was Julie doing? She didn't, to me, and I wasn't there using the devices she was using. Maybe she couldn't. Maybe she was using some antiquated. And she had to be, because we saw the system she was on. But Julie did some work, and it left a digital fingerprint. We also know the day that she changed the files. It was September. No, it was 10th. It was October 3rd, 2017, because that's in here too. But this is the same thing that you're seeing. This is just more and detail. This is just more detail.
Well, this is what she did in Photoshop. You can see she masked some things. You can see the layers, what was added per layer. She went from a BMP to a TIFF.
So to answer that question, and when you see that, again, Julie Kerensz, and whoever else may have, but for the file that I was working with, it was Julie Kerensz. Again, everything leaves a digital fingerprint. You can go, it will track you right down to the very electronic device you are on. I don't care if it's a printer. I don't care if it was a TV. I don't care if it's a cell phone. I don't care if it's a tablet. I don't care if it's a desktop. I don't care if it's a laptop. It does not make a difference. Everything leaves a digital fingerprint. Everything. So yeah, when you see that in his report, it's just another witness of almost 3 years ago, Julie showing up in my reports. But what I did for mine was, I looked at the way he sent yours, you know, the analysis of what he sent for you. I would have done it a little different because I know you don't understand. And then I like to, you know, I don't want to just look at the hex view of it. I like to go through, look at the different options I have available while I'm utilizing my forensic tool. Okay. So he was using ACE. I use OS Forensics, which was a certified tool, and I use some other free and non-certified tool, but all of the information is the same straight across the board. It doesn't change. It doesn't change because you're still dealing with those mathematical equations. You're still dealing with that math. So it's not going to change. And again, I want us to keep in mind, he said he needed the surveillance unit. The same thing I said. Nobody is going to sit up and say they can say definitively that nothing's been altered. We don't do that in this field. Not if we didn't retrieve it, and we know we don't have no bit by bit copy or nothing, and we don't have nothing to compare it with, other than what you've given us, which is a copy of something that you could have, you know, you could have whatever. It could have been powered down and then got booted back up. So no, we don't do that over here in this field. This is science and math. Okay, we don't do that over here. So the report can make a little bit more sense. And I wish he would have gave the report in a different view. I wish he would have given it to you in all the different options he had available. So I like the line by line breakdown and readout, especially when you're presenting this to people, able to look at it for yourself, because you got all the hex and one, you got the footers, they're all grouped together, nice little block. You got all the information just nicely laid out, readable format, line by line or side by side, but that's not what he did. So again, Adobe showed up. Adobe, it's in there. It left a digital fingerprint. Julie Carnez was the one who used it. She worked for Target Forensics. She certified in the field. And I will say what I said then. You can enhance image as long as the quality does not change. You can enhance the image as long as you don't start changing the quality and as long as you are not using expired software to do so, because you leave it open for some type of backdoor to happen. Trojan worm, horses, malware, spyware, all of that can compromise the data, and all of that show up in data too. And then it lacks what? Data integrity. So is this making sense to anybody? Is this just making a little bit more, is this report just making a little bit more sense? Hey, Letha. You know what, G Money, and I'm looking for more questions. Hey, hello, chick, how you doing? Right, that's what people can't understand about expired software. That's a no-no. That's a security risk and threat. Not only that, it compromises the integrity of the data. And that's a security threat. For you to use an expired version of any software where the life cycle has completely ended, that means it's dead. They're not bringing it back. They are not maintaining that software. They are not updating the patches to the software or anything else. I called Adobe Premiere to see. I got that video on here too. I said, wait a minute. Are y'all doing it for anybody? The lady said no. I said, you sure? She said no. The life cycle died. We're not updating nobody, nothing. It's dead. We're not dealing with that. We on to the new Adobe Premiere Pro, CC. We ain't doing nothing with CS6 anymore. At the same time, maybe somebody within the organization was keeping that dead cycle of software up to date and doing patches, because you have to go through. We see them do patches all the time because of some faulty programming, or because they were hacked, or just because it's time to update and they pushing out a new version of different softwares or something within the software. We see them do it all the time. So, but using expired software where the life cycle has died is dangerous for security reasons, and it is dangerous for data integrity. So that's a double no. No and no. But now you see hexadecimal, Adobe header. Now you see where it's coming from, because it was utilized. It was utilized. Everything leaves a digital fingerprint. There's no way around it. You're dealing with math. Math is solvable, and science. You're dealing with science first, because this is a science that deals with math, that deals with numerical values, that deals with numbers. So now when you read the report, it should make a little bit more sense to you. Just a little bit more sense. Just a little bit more. So when you see all those numbers, okay, hexadecimals. Anything you see a letter next to a number, you know that's a hexadecimal. When you look at this again, when you're looking at the binary and you're looking at the hexadecimals and you're looking at the data, you'll be able to say, okay, yeah, because hexadecimals have numbers and letters. In the data sets at the same time. Now, is this making just a little bit more sense to everybody? And let me blow this up. Let me do the share on, let me blow this up first because this little stuff don't work for me. I need to be able to see, okay? I'm not supposed to be wearing my glasses and viewing a laptop screen or television screen at the same time. That's too much. But this little stuff don't work for me. All right, so all through here, and let me give y'all a minute. Let me give it the minute to load on your side. You see Adobe, 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 and you see the header. You see the Adobe headers attached to it. Adobe, 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 because Adobe was used. Adobe Photoshop, Adobe, Adobe, all through here. Adobe Photoshop, and I'm looking to the right now. You get to metadata, okay? And the center we know is the hexadecimals and binary. Now we get here. And on one of his Adobes too, when I read it, you will also see Adobe, you'll see the version, it shows up. But here, same thing, mine was showing. Mine was just, it was just the way that I chose to view the data. It's the way I chose to view it and present it in 2017. I wanted to do it in a way that made it sense. So when people saw it, they could look at, okay, the labels on the side, and this is what's going on. You got the labels on this side, and then you got data sets with metadata and the rest of everything on that side. So you can see in a detailed line by line item what's going on. And this is a line by line item too, just not with the additional detailed information on the side. But then again, like I said, I was using a certified forensic tools, and we had a bunch of option availables, and he's using ACE. So he should have a bunch of, he had options available too, but some forensic tools give you more options than others in terms of what you can do. And then you get to the hexadecimal footer, and you get to Adobe digital signatures were detected within the imaging. Let me decrease that. Okay. Now we get here, and he says it. Adobe digital signatures were detected within the hexadecimal information. However, the signatures appear to be consistent with Adobe imaging processing. Okay, well, so what? Has to be. The file format and the structure appear to be consistent with Vivotech device original. That's what we're looking for. Like, if she would have went overboard, or if something would have been, if something would have gone wrong when she converted the file formats over, changed file formats over, it would show. And at the same time, in my mind, like I said, she's using the expired version. So for me, I would never have done it. I wouldn't have done it. But she did, and you know, changing a non-compressed file to another non-compressed file. Neither of the files are compressed. The original Kodak, that means the original language, the original data capture for the data sets being sent or the data sent is the bitmap. It's Windows. Windows have a bitmap. That's how they store their pixels. A bitmap ain't nothing but a bunch of pixels. Blocks of pixels. With color. That deals with no compression. Uncompressed. A TIFF, another file. Uncompressed. But like I said, maybe she did it for a specific reason. When he gets to the reference MD5 hash, is again, for some of this stuff he left blank, there's nothing for him to verify it up against. He don't have the original surveillance unit. Simple. And that's what he said at the end of the report. Although what he was sent and what he analyzed and conducted his research on, the file that he did do it on, everything looked authentic and original and, you know, looked like it had integrity. Like he said, he would have to have surveillance unit. He would have to have IP surveillance. He would have to have that unit. He needs something. He needed the system that did the original data captures. All of the OSs from there, operating systems on all of the drives, from all of the drives, if that makes sense to everybody. So now this should be making more sense to everybody. Hey, Douglas. Hey, Gina. How you doing? Oh, no problem, hell of a chick. I wanted to, I just wanted to make sure that people were understanding, because everybody didn't start off with most of us 3 years ago. Some people just came on within the last year, whatever. And so some people didn't see the videos, or some people may have forgotten and may need their memory refreshed. And again, but what I wanted to do was to lay a foundation. So when we got here to his report, it wouldn't be like a shock and awe. Like, this means absolutely nothing to me. And I said, well, it's all vital. It all means something. It's all important. All of this is important. Now let's get to his discrete coincide transformer. What did we say a discrete coincide transform deals with? Again, compression, the compression process as it relates to still shots and images. We went over that definition. So let me, all right. So this is it. This is the kitchen. Grayscale, you see it. Bits. Every point in this image right now represents pixels. image where every pixel value is average of the mean value to the non-zero DCT coefficient values of the image and a non-overlapping block. And then he gives the sources of reference. And then he presents the image. Well, let me make this make a little bit more sense to you, because I said I didn't want to leave anybody hanging in limbo, right? Can I just make it make a little bit more sense what you just seen? Okay, the input image. You input the image, right? 8 by 8 block. That's what he just said. Now I'm just showing you from the little PowerPoint I put together for clarity's sake. So you can understand what you just saw in the report that he gave. No, I believe you, Perry. No, they're not. Hi, Jennifer. Again, news flash. He didn't have the original hard drive, and that's what he said at the end of the report. He needed surveillance unit. Nobody had an original hard drive. Nobody had no bit by bit copies of original hard drive. Can nobody confirm that? The police didn't have a bit by bit. The police did not even confirm that they had a bit by bit copy. They could not have. Why? Because the one detective that was conducting his research had to go back and ask for thumb drives. Well, he didn't ask for thumb drives. He went back and asked for the rest of the footage from the kitchen. Then the general manager gave it to him on a thumb drive. That's what he said in the report. Okay. So as it relates to, let me make sure my electronic is at. I gotta charge this up, excuse me. I'm gonna explain this a little bit more. I'm charging my little additional electronic device up. Okay, sorry for the sound if you heard it. I charged my device up right here before it jump out on me. All right, the image is divided into non-overlapping 8 by 8 blocks. You see that, right? If the image width or size does not divide evenly into 8, the image may be cropped or pixels may be added to make the image divisible by 8. Each 8 by 8 block will contain 64 values. For a gray scale image, each pixel may be anywhere between 0 and 255, where 0 is pure black and anything, up to 255 is pure white. And 255 is pure white. So we just saw what he sent, right? But I wanted to show it in a different manner that made a little bit more sense. Now, what he showed was what you see on the right. Right? He didn't do a side by side, and I wish he would have. The input image and then the pixels, the way the graph looks when the pixels, or when the image looks, the way when the pixelations and the numerical values are added to it, the way it looks then, a side by side. And he didn't do a side by side, and I wish he would have. He did a, kind of top to bottom. But like I said, when I was working on this today, I said it wouldn't make sense for me to just do, no, I need to show it side by side so people can have just a little bit more clarity and understanding of what's going on in the report. This is the input image, and this is the way it looks in the 8x8 block, the numerical, pixelated image. So you go back to his image, and what we're looking for is any type of distortion. I mean, the pixels keep a consistent pattern going straight across, top to bottom. We look for inconsistencies. We look for abnormalities. We look to see if anything looks out of whack. And then we can say, okay, also it'll show up. It'll show up in the report if it is. You'll also see it in the image. So when you're seeing this, and he's doing, you know, and he's doing it different ways. This right here is the same image, just he's showing a correlation. Okay, and the correlation is the differences between two images or between two variables, how they relate to each other. So he's going through and he's breaking that down and he's saying that. So you see it again. Then he does the correlation map again, comparing the images amongst each other. Then he does the photo response non-uniformity map. That deals with the way the light hits the digital image, the noise extracted from the digital image, but that also deals with the way the light is showing through that digital camera or whatever is capturing data in the atmosphere. And so what you look for in these images, you look for patterns that seem to be abnormal, that break the norm of the flow. So for this, we don't see that. And he just keeps going and he's breaking down what he's doing step by step by step. But like I said, if again, that's it. This is it. This is. And then he gets to the actual image inside the kitchen. But for me, again, I know I would have did some stuff side by side. Would have been like, see, this is this. And then every one I probably would have been like, okay, this is kitchen, this is this. You know, did them in a quad and did some other stuff, but I'm getting ready to show you in a minute how I would have did it. And I want to get to the histogram because it deals with the hues. It deals with colors, red, blue, green, yellow, as it relates to pixels, the way data is captured and the way data is stored and the printout for the data that is captured and stored. Douglas, you know what? The file that in the beginning at the report, he said the hard drive was 1 terabit. So, I mean, did somebody else have the exact same file with hash values, with validation and authentication coming from Rosemont, or did somebody just go to the Rosemont website and retrieve their information off there and then say, well, da 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 da? We're not doing it that way. You would need exactly what he had, the way he had it. Because Rosemont posted some stuff on the website. We don't know how they copied what they copied when they gave it to them. Remember, they had some stuff on external, they had that on external hard drives, and then they had that on thumb drives too. That data, the rest of the data from the kitchen, that was on the thumb drive. So, you know, I didn't see his hard drive that Rosemont sent him. So I can't confirm what's all on his hard drive. I can't confirm that. I don't have that to say that. But I do know, according to the report, they had data given on external hard drives and thumb drives. And when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about electronically stored information now, evidence. That's the way it was given to them by Crown Plaza, and Crown Plaza never should have gave them anything, because that creates a conflict of interest. How in the world are you the person that's going to be sued turning over evidence on yourself? I don't care what anybody say, you're not going to do that. That's why the police should have went in there and acquired the entire IP surveillance unit and all of the electronics to go with it. Everything. Take it. Right, block all the systems first. So it's in a read-only mode. Get bit by bit copies of everything. So you got a forensically sound copy. Authenticate, validation. Make sure you are being careful and following best practices, and take that stuff on up out of there. Something else I didn't see in the police reports. Like I said, I was looking at what's not being given. I don't know the data policy. I don't know if the system is set to overwrite. I don't know if it's set to archive. You know, it's a lot of information that I wanted. I don't know who had remote access to the surveillance unit. I don't know who was there the day the incident occurred, monitoring the surveillance system on site. We don't have any of that. All that's vital to me. All of that should have been in a detailed report. I don't have serial numbers to nothing, like the camera type, everything you have to write serial numbers. You have to take pictures of everything. And when you take pictures of everything, you also take pictures of serial number, model, and makes, versions, firmware being used as it relates to software. We don't have that. It was never given to us. Not only that, we don't have a chain of custody for nothing prior to it hitting the police hands. Absolutely nothing. Has anybody seen that report? I haven't. So we don't know what they was doing prior to it getting to the police. We don't know who did what. And we don't know what is what. And that's why he said at the end of the report, although this stuff look up in whatever, I will still need that surveillance unit. Yeah, the original. Before he can definitively say anything. We've been saying this for the last 3 years. Again, we explain what a histogram is. It's a chart, a numerical chart. Representing with colors on them. Now, if there was any altering going on, these lines would start to gray and look abnormal. If some type of abnormal pattern would happen, you would see abnormality happening. And again, like I said, this is just what he did from what he was given. So there's the red, right? We're dealing with colors. There's the green. And here's the blue. Now, I want to go to what I pulled up because, and we looked at numbers earlier. Look at the camera. I want to show what tampering looks like. I want to pause for a minute because what you see here is I included, and this comes directly from the government. The source here comes directly from the United States government, who are always supposed to follow best practices. Also, the sources that I am using comes from my field of forensics. Engineering departments, the scientific departments, and the technology departments. But this right here came directly from the government, and I liked it. Now, we have A, B, C, D, E, and F. This is the way I wanted him to do this stuff side by side so people can see. Show them, you know, show the graphs side by side so, you know, they can see there's no distortion in the graphs. There's no this, there's no this. And, you know, he could have did it layer underneath each other, but he also could have did it side by side too. Now, this is what tampering looks like on a printout. Can you tell me which images have been tampered with? What's the original and what's not? Can anybody tell me what's the original and what's not on these? Okay, that's enough of this right here. Somebody tell me which image you think, excuse me, has been tampered with and which images you can look at your naked eye with and say they're authentic. Yeah, yes, Perry, they sent files over to Target. That's in the police report too. You saying the left one is the original? But I have A, B, C, D, E, and F. So out of all of the images, which ones are original and which ones are not? You saying C is tampered with, C tampered with, okay. Kim and G Money are answering. You can't see on your phone. You drive, okay. Okay. But Kim thinks that C has been tampered with. Come on, some other people answer the question. Because see, we've seen all this stuff out here on the internet. With people saying they see this and they see that. Oh, I've seen the videos too, some of them. But let's do some real no-nonsense forensics tonight. Math is solvable. Science is provable. Oh, I can't get nobody else to answer. We're gonna go back to his report. But like I said, his report said he didn't have the original hard drive. He didn't have a surveillance unit. That's what it said. Although what he had looked to be authentic, he can't say because he has nothing to compare it against. He don't have the originals. Yes, got it all day. Target does forensic analysis. Douglas, you say tampered. Okay, you said top 3 is the original, bottom 3 is tampered. Douglas, you are right. Everybody give Douglas a hand. He is exactly right. A, B, and C are the originals. D, E, and F have been tampered with. From C to F, you see the distortion. From B to E, you see distortion. See that distortion in there? That black, all that black in the images that follows absolutely no pattern, none whatsoever. It's not following the sequence of the patterns that's been given throughout the rest of the image. He's right. Douglas, you're absolutely right. And you know how the graph looks? Like this. Blue on the graph represents the original. Red on the graph represents the tamper with. So when we're looking at his graphs, it would have showed up, okay, for the file that he did analyze and use the forensic tools on. If it would have showed up. You see the way this is showing up, and you can see the distortion and what's been tampered with, because this is math. This is based off of mathematical equations. We're dealing with numbers here. We're dealing with math and science. We're dealing with science and math. What you see here going through that's red, that's tampering. So when we go to print off graphs, it would show us. Even though for some, you can say what it looks like, but you need your graph, a corresponding graph to go with whatever you're thinking. You have to be able to prove it. Like I said, we can be out here saying stuff all day till the cows come home, but what can you prove? And I stand affirmed in saying, where are the original hard drives that captured the data the day the incident occurred? Not only that, where's the chain of custody prior to all of that electronically stored information hitting the police hands? Not only that, the police department should have acquired it. You don't let the person that's getting ready to be sued give you anything, because they can give you what they want to give you. You're giving them time. Good, Douglas. Yes, got it all day. That's exactly. That's exactly my theory. You don't give them time to sit up and tamper all day. They gave them days. They wouldn't have had no day. That stuff would have came up out of there the day I was there. And I would have said, no, I'll have my own forensic team come in and get it. You're not getting ready to give me nothing. We taking this stuff tonight, all of it. Every unit, every electronic device, every node attached to the devices. We taking it all. Matter of fact, we're gonna get a temporary injunction approved by the court right now and a judge to shut y'all down tonight, because we getting everything up out of here today. So again, the red lines represents tampering. I wanted to show. Now you go back and you look at the graph. You don't see any of the distortion here. So that's how he can come to his conclusion. Again, we're using mathematical equations here, and these equations start getting really big. And I was going to add it, and I said, some people are already shook by all of that, all those hexadecimals and binaries and all those numbers. I didn't want to throw an equation up here at you, start putting those big equations up here and have everybody looking like, what in the world is going on? What is going on? This what y'all be doing? Yes. Only difference is we have tools that can do it now. That just, so we don't have to sit up and do this stuff by hand. Try to figure this out no more. But like I said, sometimes I'll still sit down by hand and do certain equations and then I'll go back and check them by hand using up tons and tons of paper. So see how the graph keeps a consistent pattern with no abnormalities. The blue line on here had a consistent pattern with no abnormalities, and you see that red up here, and then the red begins to, you see the graph is distorted. You see abnormal patterns going through there. Just to explain. All right, here we go. What tampering looks like. Got a chance to do it again. You have A, B, C, D, E, and F. Which ones have been tampered with? I'm gonna give y'all a minute. I'm gonna give y'all a minute, because like I said, we've seen a lot of people on here saying they see a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of tampering, whatever, but they don't have the graphs. They don't have the mathematical equations to substantiate what they're saying. This is a math involved. Equations are involved. Science is involved. Tools are involved. Forensic tools. So somebody tell me, it's 6 images up here. I'm gonna give y'all a chance again. I'm gonna leave it up here for a minute. Which one of these, tell me what images have been tampered with just by looking. Something in these images ain't right. There's some tampering going on. Okay, Douglas, you said top 3 original, bottom 3 tampered with. He going with that. Kim, I'm trying to see how they did that. They sent something via, and I got it here because I would always go over it 3 years ago. It wasn't by traditional mail. It was via the internet. Okay, a web share, some web share files, Kim. Okay, Kim, you say A, B, and C are tampered with. I have Douglas for everything at the bottom has been tampered with and everything at the top is original. Do I have any other takers? Now we're doing real forensics over here tonight. Like I said, we're looking at his report and then we're looking at some other examples that I thought would be beneficial and advantageous for people to see as it relates to digital forensics, computer forensics, network forensics. All right. Anybody else? Because you can see a whole bunch of people running out here talking about, you know, they see this, and they see that. Prove it. What can you prove? And what can you solve? Okay. Chi Town Queen Fit, you say A and D are the originals. Okay, Jennifer, I'm getting, okay, there I go. I see people are saying B and E. B and E are what? Are B and E the originals? Okay, she's saying A and D. Jennifer say B C and D are originals. Fire Mama said, you're saying B and E. All right. Douglas is saying A and D are originals. Do I have any other takers? we want to talk about forensics, right? We want to know what's going on in the report, right? We want to know how to read these reports should you see them again, so you can comprehend and understand what's going on. So when you see hexadecimals, it won't shock you. When you see binary, it won't shock you. When you see numerical values, you won't be shocked. Thanks, Kim. Okay, Chi-Town, you saying B, C, E, and F are tampered with files. Well, before I answer the question, red box represent tampering. The patterns are off. So you tell me now, what letters represent the red box? And then I'll tell you which ones were tampered with. In the black boxes, we see the green and the white with the black boxes around them. The pattern is exact. The pattern's not off, no abnormalities. Same. We see the white, green, green, white, green, white, green, white, white, green, white, green, white, green, green, white. And then we get to the red box and we see a green by a green, and it should be green, white, and then green. Then we see the second line is off. Then we go to the third line on the tamper with pattern inside the red box, and that's off too. Should be white, green, green, white. We see white, green, white, and green. The pattern is off. We see abnormalities here. So tell me now, for those of you who want to take another guess at which images have been tampered with and which ones are authentic. Megan, you said all of them been tampered with. You said E is tampered with. Yes, Tanya Nicole, it always shows an off pattern when things are being tampered with. You will always see abnormalities in a pattern when things are being tampered with. You will see some type of abnormality. It definitely is going to always show up in the graphs and on the charts, in the printouts, always. Well, I'll tell you what, E and F have been tampered with. It's E and F. So for those of you who said E and F, you were right. Everything else is original. Everything else is original. What you see, what do you see in E and F? What are you noticing about E and F now that I'm back on this page? What are you noticing about the pattern of E and F? Can anybody tell me what they've noticed about E and F? So is anybody learning anything? Now, when you go back and you look at the report later on, it'll make a little bit more sense to you. You'll just have a little bit more understanding than what you had before, and you won't be in a shock and a awe. It'll make just a little bit more sense to you, even though I'm not putting the equations up here, the long, lengthy equation, for you to work through by hand and figure it out, solve. Why everybody else is using forensic tools and forensic toolkits. Well, some people still like to do all this by hand. I know this one guy, he loves to sit down in spite of the forensic toolkits and just work through everything by hand. And I say, more power to you. Like I said, for some things I will, but for all this right here, no, I'm gonna let the tools do what they do. And then I'll analyze and present something comprehensive to the others, something that they can comprehend and understand. But no. Bob, you said you had a 50-50 chance. Oh, E is shaded different. Stands out. That's right. We're talking about. Okay. And you said the object looks like a fish has increased in size and also moved. Ah, Kim, the white fish are off. Exactly. The fish are different. Exactly. You said, Tanya, you said you can't read on your phone and use the TV to see the other pictures. I read your chat. Oh, okay, you read your chat on your phone and then you use the television to see the other pictures. Okay. And Fire Mama, you said you can see an extra fish now and the shading in F. Thanks for clarifying. The white fish is original, but the black is added around the image. Well, what has happened in E and F? Brighter zones. Anywhere where you see is brighter, that means the object has been modified, altered, edited. Everywhere where you see shades being brighter in E and F, that's where the tampering occurred. Where the zones are brighter in E and F, that's where the tampering occurred. Where you see it just being really bright, that's where tampering took place. So again, when it comes to this field, we cannot just come out and say, even though we look for the abnormalities and pattern, and some people have been doing this for years, so you can look down and say, it's off, the patterns don't look right, whatever, but you still need to make sure you're using all of the math, that you're using everything straight across the board, because you can't go to the court talking about where it just looked off. You have to go to the court and say, you see the pattern here. And then here, as it relates to the pixels, the pattern begins to shift, change. They become abnormal. It doesn't keep the normal pattern flow. So everywhere in E and F where you see the brightening around all of these images or these two images, that's where the tampering occurred. And we did that. Now let's go back to here, because green, and this white. This white belongs over here to the left of the green, just like this white belongs to the right below in this red box of the green. Everywhere where you see it brighter, that's off. And when you do a printout, it will show. When you start printing out the graphs, it'll show. Because this is math. It's using mathematical equations, numerical equations, dealing with numbers here. It'll show. B doesn't look consistent to you, Rebecca, but B has not been tampered with. And that's why it is vital that we use tools and not just trust when it comes to network forensics, digital forensics, computer forensics. We cannot just trust the natural eye all the time. You have to use the tools. You have to. Yeah. Bulex Day, Sushi, wherever you see the brightening, not just the white areas, but wherever you saw it brighten up, just be super bright. Everything else on the other images, kind of consistent. No, just out of the ordinary pop, pop out in color or brightening in color. But when you get to those two images, it's just, all of a sudden you just see a big brightening where that represents tampering. Now let's go back to this report and let's have a look, page 19. Now we look to the right and we see a consistent pattern, right? Visually, we see a consistent pattern going through here. The left is the kitchen, the image. And then the right is the image. And so what we're checking for here is to analyze the image to check and see if there's any inconsistencies in the image. We don't see it. Do we see anything inconsistent in the image at this point? Now let's go back to the report that he sent. You don't see anything abstract or out of the normal that's not following some type of pattern as it relates to this specific file. And I'll keep saying that because I'm not talking about every file. I'm talking specifically about this one. Then he did the spatial analysis. He goes back into the hexadecimal headers. You know what a header is now. Beginning of a packet of data being sent across a network. Footer is the ending. Header, starting point. Footer, ending or closing point. Then he goes back again into the visual inspections. Again, hexadecimal surveillance system information header. But let me see what everybody's saying. Oh, you say your name makes people crazy. Okay. Again, let me blow this up. Page 22. Again. We see 76, 69, 76, 6F, 74, 65, 6B, and that throughout this has been consistent with VivoTab. Then it's saying everything that happened. iOS stream error, system string too long, invalid string. So you can go through and you can see what's happened. Generic, unknown error. So the error that occurred was generic, was unknown. Whenever they were doing whatever as it relates to, well, when the stream was taking place, but I want to get here. MP4, okay? We know that's a file format. And really, that's not where I wanted to get to. Let me stop the share on this because I don't want to make anybody eyeballs crazy. It is something that I want to get to as it relates to native file format and capture of the data. Because everybody was, it's been a lot of people guessing. And it's right in here. But before I go there, let me, let's go back to the image. Another image that he presented. I'm gonna decrease this some more. I got this all the way up. So just because we think we may see, or sometimes, like I said, if you've been doing this for years, you can look and say, this ain't following no type of pattern, or the pattern is abnormal. The pattern for this normally looks like this, is abnormal, and can kind of say, and then in addition to that, you always, this is what I wanted. Let's see. I wanted to get to the way the codecs that were used to capture the data across the internet. People have been pontificating. Was it an MP3? Is it a, was it MP4? We saw MP4 up there a minute ago. Was it H.264 and H.265, which is the standard for streaming data across the internet? Data, live data captures across the internet. And in this report, and I should have written down the page, I should have wrote down the page, you'll see in there different ones. H.264 and H.265, which is the industry standards as it relates to data captures across the network and original codecs, and they should be. Everything should be in compliance with industry standards. And for people who were wondering, thinking it couldn't be 30 frames per second, yes, it can. Data captures happen at 30 frames per second or higher because of the amount of bandwidth that's available. Not only that, because of the industry standard that must be adhered to. But I wanted to show that too, and I don't remember what page that was on because I was just like when Amp gave it, I was into it like, oh, you know. I was going through every little line by line, precept upon precept, writing everything out on paper, like I like to do sometimes, like I said. Working out my own little math problems. Oh, that's still too big. Let me decrease this. And even right here, because we saw, because we just got finished doing the other ones, even right here, some people would look at this and say, oh, it's no pattern is being followed. Yes, it is. And I can see it as clear as day. Pattern in here is consistent. It's consistent. It's consistent. He's doing, for this one, he's doing a correlation. Against the other. Charts and graphs that he's already presented. This is when he got into comparison and contrast and seeing if he could see any abnormalities, looking at it different ways. But like I said, I would have loved to see him do a side-by-side on these, as well as just to leave them on a page by themselves. So, you know, people wanted to do whatever, you know, copy or whatever, and not have anything next to it, they could just having that, but also with people being able to say, okay, this is a side-by-side. I would have also liked to have seen him do those histograms side-by-side in terms of the chart too, the chart printouts on that too. But again, it's all in the way that people like to present their information. When it comes to stuff like this, I just believe if I want to do it, I need to be as detailed and as amplified as possible. Or try to make the person on the opposite end who may have no knowledge of technology at all and understand this, bring as much clarity to them as I can. Then we get to the end of the report, and what does he say? Although this and this, I ain't conclusion. Yeah, files appear to be consistent with VivoTrack device originals. However, further analysis of the surveillance system will be needed for a complete global comparative analysis, saying, listen, yeah, this came from them, but I needed analysis of the surveillance system. You know, I gotta have something. Directly from them hard drives, the day the incident occurred. Authenticated and validated. And he was very careful in what he said. Evidence files appear to be consistent. Then he comes behind what he said and said, listen, however, So did we understand a little bit more now? Right. You're right. Suche, you're right. It wouldn't show up. It wouldn't show up on here. The day the incident occurred, we would have needed somebody to get to all of the electronic devices with operating systems that was storing any data and all data, and retrieve that information in their volatile state. That's with all of the systems powered up and on. That's the way we would have needed that information to be copied, because we have no knowledge of whether something went down, somebody powered something down, whether somebody unplugged something from its power source. We don't know that. We don't have that information. It's just so much information. They gave us something, but it's other information that we just don't have. And my goodness, if this, you have a logical drive, you have a physical drive inside your electronic devices. Remember, we're dealing with cloud now. We're dealing with the cloud. We deal with virtual clouds now. And when you're dealing with virtual clouds, you have to go in real time in person and do a data dump of the registries in order to capture something, or else you'll miss it. See, it's just every step is vital. All this is vital. You cannot afford to miss steps. You cannot afford to wait for one. You cannot afford not to have your warrants together. And my warrant would have been extremely broad warrant to include neighboring cities, neighboring states. I need the whole state, and I need the neighboring states in case something else was going down over there and somebody was doing something from over there. You just need in case people was working from other areas, I would have, you just need, and to say, listen, I need this warrant to be extremely broad because I need to include all these things on here, all of them. And the first thing I would have included was acquisition of that surveillance unit in its entirety, as well as every component associated with it, as well as all nodes on the network. All of them. Yeah, because you have to investigate everything. Everything. So all that's vital. Fire Mama, you saying does inoperable cameras cause issues with hard drives? And why are there timestamp gaps? Hey, Alan. Right, cameras equal insurance policy. It should. Their systems would have been able to detect an inoperable camera. There would have been an alert. Yeah, thank you to everybody who contributed to getting this. Yep, and everybody who's been rocking with J4K. But let me go back to what Fire Mama said. And Chi-Town Fit Queen said, cameras represent a node on a network, right? If you flash back to some of my video footage of almost 3 years ago, I go over that. I go over what nodes on a network are. I said peripherals represent nodes on a network, like your printer, your camera, your television. All of that represents a node on a network. So if a node on the network goes down, you're right, an alert. You get an alert and you know the node is down. You are aware of that. So how many cameras did they roughly say they had inoperable? That I don't believe, because I didn't see a report prior to whatever the police ran out and said. I said, that's what I said, where are the maintenance logs on all of this, on all the electronics? I need to see what was going on prior. As well as I would have loved to seen what was going on weeks prior to Kenneka Jenkins' demise. Because what you're looking for straight across the board is for any abnormality across the network, on the premises, within surveillance, footage, anything abnormal. Was anything abnormal happening? Was internet service providers having any issues? I mean, was there anything, anywhere? But when a node on the network goes down, the network administrator know, or whoever over that section, they know, because of the alert. It'll trigger the alert to inform them that a node on the network is down. Such and such node, where there's no 1, 2, 3, or however they got it labeled, A, B, C, D, or if they gave it name, they would know. See, a few years ago, they tried this in Michigan. And that's when I told the judge, I didn't care what he was saying. And he didn't care what I was saying. And I said, you're not going to put me out of nowhere. But I had already said what I said. But the jurors, none of the jurors believed the police were to be, all of the jurors in there believed the police lied. Put it that way. And I didn't make it no better, because when they came in, when the prosecuting side came in with that foolishness, talking about something, you beat somebody up in jail and you have surveillance. You have an IP surveillance unit. And remember, IP means internet protocol, because we dealing with networks, right? But the cameras weren't working. And I said, excuse me. So you mean to tell me your nodes on the network went down? How long were they down? When did you become aware of this? Wanting to know how much time passed before you got this fixed. This is vital. This is a jail, right? And they looked at me like, yeah, it went. Okay, that's all I wanted the jurors to hear. I mean, the judge got into it about whether alcohol was a drug, and I said alcohol is a drug. It's a drug that also will cause you to be not cognitively aware of what's going on around you. You don't have all your wherewithal around you. I mean, of what you're doing. It will cause you to be in an altered frame of mind, as well as, and he said, he didn't see alcohol as a drug. And I said, alcohol is too a drug. He was like, hold up. He was like, do you still? I said, listen. Then he tried to come back and say something. I said, that's not what I said. Don't put words in my mouth. This is exactly what I said. And then he said something. I said, listen, you won't recuse me. I'll recuse myself. But what you're not going to do is tell me that alcohol is not a drug. And that alcohol will not alter your frame of mind cognitively. I said, you're not going to do that. But that was his courtroom, so whatever. And I let him know, you don't recuse, You ain't put me out of nowhere. I recuse myself. You won't be putting me out. So bottom line is the note on the network went down. They knew. They knew. They knew in advance. So how long were the nodes on the network now? How long were those cameras allegedly inoperable? And where's the proof? Where's your data log? As well as, I need to see everything because it's on the network, right? So if it's attached to the network, where's the digital fingerprints for that too? I'll be able to see it. Yeah. Fire Mama, since you said that, we're gonna go right here. We get ready to pull a case up. Let me blow this up because I want to get right back here. There we go. To something that the attorneys brought out. And that is something we didn't see video footage from, the 9th floor. That there were cameras on the 9th floor that were operable that should have captured what was going on there. The attorneys brought that out. It's in the report. And one of the reasons they being sued for gross negligence is if you have surveillance unit on your premises, it is supposed to eliminate issues like this from happening, or at least minimize issues like this from happening. What is the purpose of having surveillance unit all over? And people still get harmed on your property and on your premises. I mean, because the kitchen was being renovated. They was updating, they was remodeling. So stuff should have been blocked off. That's what they said. That's what the food and beverage manager said. In his report, the kitchen was inoperable. And then over 3 years ago, when I did that 6-minute video, I said, I don't care if the kitchen was inoperable, because employees were still accessing it, as well as the people who were doing the work on the kitchen, as well as security guards. So that was neither here nor there. Y'all was still up in there. So coming out and saying to the police, the kitchen has been up, that don't mean nothing. Y'all was still accessing the kitchen. But that's the one I called, that's the one I said that I just believe was telling a bald-faced lie. I don't believe nothing he wrote in that report was true. I just don't. I don't believe his, that stuff he was saying was not adding up at all. Because the detective asked him a couple of times, was the light on or was the light off? When you found the body, was the light on or off? He asked them again. He asked him a few times, same question. I said, oh, that's interesting. But even with this, I didn't see a single person other than the kids. Who did they fingerprint? No forensics from shoes, clothes. What? This was just a jacked up, half tail done investigation all the way around from the start, from my perspective. And that's what I hold true to. This was half tail done, because that foolishness, no way in the world. A person is dead in a hotel, everybody is a suspect. A little kid walking by, I'm sorry they was there, they're a suspect too. And everybody getting ready to get tested. Everybody. I'm getting forensics from everyone. As a matter of fact, call your family and have them come pick you up and bring you some new clothes, because you're not even going home in the clothes, the shoes, the socks, and nothing you got on with the next morning after I get finished processing you. As a suspect, you're not going home with nothing. See, this just don't make no sense. A 4 to 5 star hotel with cameras everywhere, inside, outside. Remember, I went there. Was counting cameras on the outside. And if you cambered up like that on the outside, I know you got cameras on the inside, and a lot of them. This just didn't make no sense. This didn't make sense. And I kept saying, where's the biological forensics from other people? Where's it at? How in the world are you conducting any type of investigation? You don't have no forensics. You only interview friends and others who was at the party. Ho, 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 time out. Everybody. You don't pick and choose. Everybody was there, right? Where everybody gonna have to give a testimony. Give me a statement. Everybody gonna have to do a deposition, something. Whether you write in the paper, whatever. Whether you want to do it verbatim on a recorder, whatever. But you just ain't gonna glide out. Hotel should have been locked down. Nobody in, nobody out. That's why I wish the FBI would have investigated this. Because you see when them shootings happen, how they do. Everybody got to come out with their hands on their head and they lock it down. Nobody getting in, nobody getting out. Same thing should have happened here. We have found a person, and right now we're ruling this as a homicide. And everybody up in here is a suspect. So call your mama, call you get your little one call, tell them bring you some extra clothes, because you're not going home in that tonight either, or tomorrow morning. Bring you some socks and some shoes too. Don't play. Okay, here it is right here. Let me blow this up nice and good. It's page 19. I mean, line 19. I want to make sure I show this nice and big. Plaintiff, descendant Kenneka Jenkins, was last seen near an elevator on the 9th floor where surveillance cameras were installed, in use and properly working. Therefore, she was observable. How much video footage have we seen from the 9th floor? I'll wait. I haven't seen any video footage from the 9th floor. I saw some pictures. Right. I can't believe. No yellow tape. Right. Hey, Juanita. Yeah, somebody took pictures of doors, Juanita. Got it all day. You say you don't believe it was halfway done. You don't believe it was probably done at all. Yeah. Right. People were saying none from the 9th floor. This is what the attorney said. And the attorney said, remember, the first attorney we saw at the beginning, for those who was here at the beginning, Larry Rogers. They had investigators out there to, like he said, we want them doors. We want the doors investigated. Preserve that evidence. Give us that, because y'all ain't gave us nothing else. And he talked about the game that they played with the video surveillance. Had them waiting. Why? Jeffrey Feiger and Mr. Bean, who's licensed in Illinois, who used to live in Michigan. He's from Michigan. Jeffrey Feiger from Michigan. They get the case. I know they got a bunch of detectives and investigators. Plaintiff, point number 19. The plaintiffs, which is Teresa Martin, descendant, Kenneka Jenkins, was last seen near an elevator on the 9th floor, where surveillance cameras were installed and in use and properly working, and therefore she was observable. So where's the rest of the footage at from the 9th floor? Where's the footage at from the police body cams? Did they have body cams on? They should have, according to their law, or is they supposed to be fine? Where's the footage from the body cams from the cops? If they had their body cams on like they were supposed to, per Illinois' law that passed before 2017. We went to the website and looked at it. Their government, their website, their state website, and looked at it. Where's the, why are there things missing? Like I said, we know what's been given. I looked at what was given, and then I looked at what was not given. And I said something is missing. So I want to know, where's the not given information at? To paint a full story and a better picture. Because this ain't working. This is still not working for me. Almost 3 years later, this don't work for me. And for Crown Plaza to come out in the beginning and admit, we saw the video, that there's no footage of her walking into a freezer, and then for the police to come to a conclusion that she walked into a freezer. How? Where's the video footage and locked herself in by the way, also in this report, well, not in the report, but in the press conference he gave, he said the door is only locked from the outside. So how she lock herself on the inside if they can only lock from the outside? That means you can't lock yourself in. Impossible for you to lock yourself in. So how she get locked in there if the door is only locked from the outside? See, some of this stuff just don't make sense. So when people be running, that mess MTV pulled was hideous. This mess, some people be out here saying where they just say, oh, we just believe that. No, you have to go with the evidence. You go where the facts lead, not where your thoughts taking you to. And if you ain't got damn fact, you cannot definitively say nothing if you don't have all the facts, except for what you don't have. And I definitively say, we don't have no copy of them original hard drives. We don't. And it's not funny, I'm laughing, but I'm just saying, we don't. We ain't got it. So everybody is left to still wonder and pontificate. And again, an admission from the beginning, from the Crown Plaza, O'Hare, and Rosemont Village, in the village of Rosemont, that there is no video footage of her walking into that freezer. So if there is no video footage showing her walking into that freezer, how did she get in there and how did she get locked in? Especially since the door is only locked from the outside. Somebody better explain something with cameras all over the premises into an area that was supposed to be sealed off and not accessible, not relatively accessible via regular patrons or guests of the hotel. How did she just happen upon them? How did she just happen into that specific location? Somebody make it make sense, because it has not made sense to me yet. And I have heard other people attempt to reenact, still don't make no sense. And I'm gonna tell you why again it doesn't make sense. Because inside the kitchen, motion censored, infrared, artificial intelligence, electronic devices. That means anybody who steps into the premises, it triggers the alarm. And you are made aware that somebody is in that perimeter, within that perimeter. So somebody make this make sense. That's where the infrared artificial intelligence was at, in the kitchen. So somebody knew she was in there, because there's more than one camera in the kitchen. Exactly. This don't make sense. You right, Jen. Hey, how you doing? Oh, good night, Kim. Hey, that girl. How you doing? Hey, Jello Shots, how you doing? Hey, Jello. That girl, you said the freezer's only locked manually. And got it all day, you said you had to put a lock on it. Somebody had to do something. Oh, no problem, Douglas. Oh, and got it all day, you said you saw that they said the freezers don't lock at all. Well, I tell you what. G-Money, you think the cameras on the ninth floor were turned off? Not according to the attorneys. And point number 19, those cameras were turned on and properly working. And they said, therefore, she was observable. That's why they being sued for gross negligence. Look, they're going to get you for negligence anyway because she died on your premises. Now you get hit with gross negligence. Because she died on your premises and you had a bunch of cameras everywhere and you didn't get to her in time. And she died, and allegedly she was found in the hotel freezer inside the kitchen. She didn't work there. So how did she get there? She didn't know the layout of the hotel. So I'll ask the question again. How did she get in the freezer that does not lock from the inside and get locked on the inside? With infrared alarms, infrared electronic devices that trigger an alarm anytime anybody walk in the atmosphere. So how did that happen? Because the artificial intelligence was inside the kitchen, per the police reports. Somebody make it make sense. Because as of yet, nobody has made it make sense to me. The people who think she accidentally stumbled in there and was so inebriated and died, excuse me, they had infrared cameras, artificial intelligence. that trigger the alarm when somebody's in there. That's what infrared is for. Calculating and analyzing that specific perimeter and location. I don't care if it was an ant crawling across the floor or a spider. That's what they're there for. They comb the atmosphere. Again, this is why they're getting hit with gross negligence. They don't have no exodus. This never should have happened, period. In an alleged area where there was supposed to be non-usable, wasn't being utilized. That was supposed to be inoperable, being remodeled. And then the food and beverage manager, that foolishness he said. How in the world? He a food and beverage manager and he don't know what the temperature of the freezer was. I said, really? 6 years food and beverage manager and you don't know what the temperature of the freezer was when they asked you that? And I call him suspicious suspect number 1. Because he operated as food and beverage manager and security. That means he had access to that surveillance unit. Don't play. Hey, Tone. Hey, the Spot. The Spot, you said bottom line and she was murdered and they covering up at all costs. Even if they did it accidentally, they should have came out right away. And people need to listen to what the hotel been saying from start to finish. Because when Jeffrey Feiger took the case on, then all of a sudden the story was changing to, according to what the news was reporting, the narrative was changing to, some gang members or whoever are here, whatever was here, and they got away. What? But at first you said she walked in there, she was so inebriated, she walked in there on her own and locked herself in there. And then years later, the story changed again? Huh? No. Furthermore, in the village of Rosemont, them gangs ain't running up out of there that quick. And even if they do, you got to go through all those pay tolls. So where you running to? Illinois, y'all got too many, especially Rosemont by the airport. Where they running to real fast? Nowhere. And they got cameras. Let me use my best slangonomics, all up and down through there. On light, on post, through pay tolls, at the gas stations, at the malls, at the hotels that are right next door to them. Then they want to come out and allegedly say, according to the news, some gang people and they got away. No, they did not up in there. They didn't. Police is only 5 minutes away from the hotel, less than 5 minutes away. Really. You can skip, hop, and jump and be at the hotel from the police department, public safety department. The narrative was bogus from the beginning. It's bogus now. And people can think what they want to think and try to put her in that freezer. The bottom line is they said it from the beginning when they first came out. There is absolutely no video for showing her walking to that freezer. Not only that, there's no forensics. on nobody. Like it should be. Who could have been in there at the same time she was? No fingerprints, no footprints impression, no nothing. These people crazy. Tony on the spot, you're right. Not only would they have been in jail, I'm not attempting to be funny, it would have been a shootout. Come on now. Nobody going with that gang narrative. Now that's just crazy. That girl you're saying edited version, it may not be, it may just be the electronic devices they were using in the way that they were airing what they were airing during the time the event happened, in terms of something being light or dark. We'll just, you know, we won't know unless we're actually there. But again, everybody, there it is. Clarity on the report. And for people who were saying, you know, don't give up, because we already knew from the beginning we didn't have anybody validate or authenticate anything coming from original hard drives that captured the data the day the incident occurred. We already knew that. So when they showed up on the ground and said, release the tapes, the real tapes, but they waited a few days before they turned anything over, and they should not have been allowed to turn anything over. Again, to me, that's a conflict of interest. You get ready to get your behind sued, you're gonna be held liable because somebody died on your premises. I don't need you to give me nothing. I'm gonna come in and collect my own evidence. No, thank you. Because I'm sure you're not going to implicate yourself. You don't want to be sued. And why would you tell on yourself? You don't want to lose your money. Therefore, I would have got my own evidence. You don't get to give it to me. That don't make sense. You're the one that's being held liable. Again, why would you implement yourself or your business or your establishment? You won't. That girl, you believe someone, hey, Joy, how you doing? You believe someone dragged and dropped her into that freezer? Right, Juanita, ain't nobody gonna tell on themselves. And Joy, you said that NTV True Crimes episode was a waste of time on the case. Well, it was. I said that, Joy. And I know you didn't heard me say that over here. I said that was foolishness. That was no investigating. MTV True Crimes was not conducting any investigation, and I did not watch this. At the 5 minutes, I shut it off. I said, I'm done. Finish. Don't tell me you investigating and you have not, first of all, you ain't even had no detectives out in the spot on the scene, undercover, doing nothing. That's one of my reasons. Another one, you haven't even went out. They just going based off everything that was on the internet, based off everything that was already said. How you investigating based off that? And they want to come out, talking about they've done it. This is an investigative MTV, whatever they called it about Kenneka Jenkins. No, that's not. You ain't showed up in person to investigate nothing. Did you even tour the facility? Did you even compare and contrast it prior to the renovations and after the renovations? Did you even do that? Did you even go to talk to any detective or the police department? Did you talk to any of the employees that are still working there, that were working there the day the incident occurred, or that may no longer work there? Because one African-American guy quit. He was that when he found out Kenneka died that night and that day, he quit. Very next day, he said, it's a wrap, I'm done. He said he could not believe, and that was back then, if she was gone, he said, it's a wrap. I'm out. Done. Done. I'm done working here. Finito, finish. Do not tell me you are doing an investigative documentary or whatever they called it, and you don't have no forensics your own self. And then they talking about they had forensics and everything was accurate. Do they have a bit by bit copy of the original hard drive? Did they get a chain of custody from ROSEMONT prior to any electronically stored information being turned over to the police? What do they have? See, I want the information before it got to the police because that matters. I want to know how it was collected, maintained, and stored, and who did what. I want to know the process they went through. Also, for the person who did collect it, which is the general manager, that's what's in the police report. Was he there the day the incident occurred? Can he speak to how the IP surveillance unit was being maintained? See, because that's vital too. But MTV, that mess was a joke. And I don't care who support MTV. That was some mess and that was a joke. If you're going to investigate, investigate. Don't come out here telling me you investigated and all you did was watch some social media post and go off what had already been given. That's not investigating. You ain't showed up to question nobody. They ain't had no private detectives on the low, incognito, collecting information on nothing. How about you investigated? Ain't even been in the facility. What? How was that investigated? No, they did it for views. Chi-Town Fit Queen, you said no. Juanita, you said set up for a movie. And you know what? They wouldn't be doing a movie on my child. Sure wouldn't. And you said New York Times did a Breonna documentary. I remember, I saw that show up in your post, Joy. But how are they even doing a documentary right now? It seems like who's been collecting the most information as it pertains to Breonna Taylor's case and who's been doing investigative journalism, it's been Vice News. They all up and through there. And when I say they all up and through there, they all up and through there. They doing their freedom of information requests, asking for all types of information from police departments, from city council, from mayor, from whoever, whatever. They on the ground up in there, they going to residents. They've been out on the ground going to residents, homes, getting information. They've been all over. So how in the world does Vice? They should have did it. How did New York decide to do it? I don't understand that. Yeah. The spot, Tony on the spot, they did use that to boost their ratings. That's all they did it for. And G Money, you're right. They did no investigation, none. Absolutely none. Okay, Uncle G, you said Taylor Blackwell's case reminds you of the Kenneka case? A cover-up. I call Kenneka Jenkins Kendrick Johnson 2.0 because, again, surveillance, original surveillance, you know, just stuff you allowing the company that's going to be held liable or the entity that's going to be held liable to give you something. Evidence that would lead back to them, possibly going to prison, in jail. that would implement and apply them. That's foolishness. That's foolishness. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. That was stupid. But again, we Joy, you say, how is it that the VOGs sites have more information than the police? And the detectives? I tell you what. So that's why when I went to that Kenneka Jenkins protest, what, almost 2 years ago, I was showing everything. I wanted to show the distance between the hotels that were side by side, the distance and the proximity, and just show the surroundings so people can get a good look and lay of the land in terms of perimeters, where things are geographically located on, you know, space, size, and different things like that. That's why I was up in there like looking for the cameras, like, oh, there's a camera, 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 there's a camera. So I don't, you know, I don't know how people are coming out with these documentaries on the deceased without all of the evidence and the facts. That's one of the most egregious actions. They could have done against the deceased. Come out and attempt to sway and shape and create a narrative instead of going off what's factual. That's crazy. Nobody should be doing a documentary on Breonna right now. The police ain't even been charged. How you gonna do a documentary unless it's part one? A mini prelude to a documentary. The Attorney General talking about ballistics, he just got information, allegedly. So how they do a documentary so quick? Foolishness, straight foolishness. Yes, Chi-Town Fit Queen, Kendra Johnson case was messed up. And Juanita, you saying the FBI could have superseded Rosemont. I wish they would have, but they told the FBI they didn't need no help. That girl, you said Kenneka eyes ain't even open in the video footage to know where she going. You know it's edited. Oh, okay, that girl. G Money, you said you do believe Kenneka was at the DoubleTree at some point. She could have been. And that's why the police should have had a broad warrant. So you can go through everything, the entire state and the neighboring states. You want to get everything moving in between there. So if your evidence start leading you there, you can go get what you need to get. You already got the warrant, an approved warrant to acquire whatever. No, G Money, they never figured out who murdered Kendra Johnson. Oh, okay, Joy, you said you found out about Kenneka Jenkins through a Facebook Live in 2017. A quick Google search. You was directed to YouTube, but not a news source. The rabbit hole, 3 years later, still no justice. Hey, Carolyn Hall. Carolyn, you're right. You said Kenneka was clean on the video footage when she was walking allegedly towards the freezer in the kitchen. But then when they found her, she was dirty. That girl, you said you found out about the Kenneka while searching for 911 tributes. And the moment you heard her story, you knew it was alive. Well, it showed up in my feed. Showed up in my news feed. And I said, to me, it sounded like some slave stuff. When they used to hang the slaves and lynch the slaves back in the day, I said, no, this don't even sound right. This right here don't even sound right. How in the world does somebody end up in your 5-star hotel, 4 to 5-star hotel dead in your kitchen freezer? In the kitchen freezer of your 5 to 4-star hotel. And you have cameras everywhere. Absolutely not. No. And this person was not an employee, had never worked there, their first time there. So how does that happen? Then the kitchen was supposed to be inoperable. But again, my issue with the food and beverage manager was, I don't care if you did say it was inoperable, y'all still had access to it. And all them employees were running in and out of that, right, as well as the workers, right, as well as security. This didn't make no sense at all. Then you had the audacity to have motion sensor cameras in the kitchen to detect when somebody's in the atmosphere, and she still end up dead in the freezer. No, that don't make sense. No, G Money, you say you thought the feds was involved in Kendrick. The feds did get involved. Kendrick Johnson body has been exhumed over 3 times. His body's been exhumed 3 times. That girl, you're right. The moment that loop showed her walking around for an hour, you knew it was off. That's why Jeffrey Fiker and Mr. Bean put it in the lawsuit the way they put it in there. When he came out and made that statement, that's why he said what he said, wandering around for hours. And y'all didn't see her when you got employees wandering around the hallways for hours. You're right, that girl. It didn't make no sense. Right, got it all day. And how in the world they didn't know where she was at for over a day with all them cameras up in that hotel? How? Yeah, the impact of the Kenneka Jenkins story is amazing. We can't all remember, most of us, where we were when we heard that, just like we can remember what was going on when 9/11 happened. And Juanita, you saying everybody's saying the freezer was hot. You're right, got it all day. It's crazy. But with the freezer being hot, right, that girl, the lies, the horror, no third shift security, didn't see her work in the hotel, all the facts. There was always no one saw her, right, all of the lies. Nobody to see nothing. They didn't see nothing. Then they told that lie too. She ain't here. Then you start rolling surveillance back and she on the surveillance, but she wasn't there. All of the lies they told. All of them. as well as the lies and the harassment and bullying of her mother. So let me straighten this out real quick. Let me say it again, because everybody know we don't play that foolishness when in terms of putting your lips on her mother. Now, we call her Mama T. That's what you call her, Mama T. Kenneka Jenkins' mother had just had surgery for cancer, breast cancer. She had her bag on out there, got herself up. And remember, she kept calling them. It's on the audio. And then she called back to act like she was shared from somewhere else. That's on the audio too. Still trying to get information about her daughter. And they turned around and they put a restraining order. The hotel put a restraining order, got a restraining order against Teresa Martin. And people ran around talking about she didn't care about her daughter. Yes, she did. It's because her family and her showed up and turned up, and she had just had surgery. She showed up. I don't blame her. And whatever she said, I don't blame her. Because I would have told them too, you're gonna get my daughter, I burnt this mug, something gonna pop off. I know that. It's going down. Don't sit up here and tell me I ain't getting ready to come through this hotel. It's going down. And I would have walked my way through there. They would have had to arrest me. Forget that, it's going down tonight. No. So no, you're right. That girl, all the lies, all the stories, all the people set up here, so all the harassment she's endured. I still got video footage of people who acted a plumb fool as it relates to this case. A plumb fool. Made up so many lies, harassed her. She was already dealing with stressful situation. She didn't even get to grieve her daughter good enough. I didn't even say grieve, mourn the passing of her daughter, because she was too busy dealing with other foolishness. Every day she turned around, foolishness. Somebody was hustling, stealing, whatever. What is that? People can be so insensitive and silly. Hey, Flower. Bloom, how you doing? Chinatown Fit Queen, I don't believe she was frozen either. They didn't sustain. Remember, the women, the department, Cook County, that conducted the autopsy. Remember, one of the man, the lead, he should be in prison right now for all them bogus autopsies he conducted where all the information was wrong. Not only did he do it in Illinois, he did it in Wisconsin too. Every autopsy he did, they had to go back and redo. And this is the department the forensic, the medical examiner's office, let me be specific, that conducted her autopsy. And they wanted us to believe that. No, we don't. No, we don't, because your boy down up in there messed up over 300 from Illinois. That had to be 300 plus from Illinois that had to be redone. And they had to go to the other states and redo those too, because he was lying. Oh no, absolutely not. Furthermore, the state of Illinois says whenever there is a suspicious death, the medical examiners are supposed to be there on premises. Kenneka being found in that freezer was an extremely suspicious death. The medical examiner should have had their hips there, period. Crazy. Joy, you said protecting Black women is an issue. The economic status plays a part. The idiots on social media, Bass and Mama T. And that girl, you said Mama T told her, if they don't, if she don't calm down, they wouldn't let her view the body. What kind of sick, no compassion is that? Yeah, they said a lot of stuff, that girl. Not only that, when I got to Illinois, I found out that they kept her outside. They wouldn't allow her in the hotel. That's why when you see the video footage and she go in there and they tell her Kenneka's dead, she run out because she had been waiting out in the car for all them hours, only to hear them come to her and tell her her youngest daughter was dead because they wouldn't allow her in the facility. I would have said, I'm getting in the facility. Everybody else going to have to come up out of here. Which way you want to do this, voluntarily or involuntarily? But what you're not going to do is not going to tell me, I can't come in and look for my child. My child been missing. And I've been calling up here too. And y'all say she wasn't on no surveillance and then turn up and she is on surveillance. Entering the hotel. No. Everybody would have had to leave that hotel. Oh, I know what I would have done. I'm not going to say it on here, but I know what I would have done. Everybody would have been up out of there too. Everyone. Flower, they didn't handle this case right. Right. Throw the medical examiner department away. They were on vacation while Mama T was waiting for reports. And Juanita, you saying, yep, YouTubers made so much money off of Kenneka Jenkins' death to YouTube stopped paying. Not only YouTubers, but a lot of people from Facebook and a lot of non-integral activists made money too. Activists with no integrity. Creating pandemonium and telling a bunch of lies. And CG money, the medical examiner's report was not supposed to be based off what the police said. They were supposed to examine the body. The police don't tell you, you tell them. Yeah, that girl, she was in the parking lot for hours waiting. Right, and Juanita, the one girl, Karen, because both their name was Karen and Karen, she was a resident. China Fit Time, you say you know exactly who I'm talking about, right? I don't even have to say no names. I can just, it's a bunch of them. And I don't do a lot of name, whatever over here, because we would be naming too many. Now, about a year or so ago, I did address this one who was supposed to be a prophet or a pastor or whatever, because he was saying something, and then he had something flipped. And like I said, I don't even know who he was. He had something flipped to say as it related to me. And I told him, come on up on YouTube. Now, y'all know I don't do that, but I did. I had to address that. I said, come on. While he was watching, yeah, if you want to come on up here, come on up here. But he understood after I got finished. He got a good understanding, and all his understanding, he got a good understanding that day. A real good one. Because I had to break it down. I said, do not sit up here and try to villainize Kenneka Jenkins' mother. I said, because you ain't changed a diaper for her a day in your life. You ain't paid a light bill. You ain't paid a consumer's bill. You ain't paid a electricity bill. You ain't paid no water bill. Well, electricity and consumers go together. But water bill, you ain't paid no car note. You ain't paid no insurance for her a day in your life. Don't you dare sit up here and say you love Kenneka more than her mother did, because that's a lie. You didn't even know her. Now that's where I had to go with him. Now tried to walk down the street and didn't get very far. I said, you didn't put no groceries in that house she lived in. You didn't feed her, clothe her, shelter. You ain't did nothing for her. So don't you dare sit up and say you love Kenneka more than her mother did. And you ain't took care of her a day in your life. Didn't even know her. So I had to go there over a year ago and shut that foolishness down. because some people get beside themselves. And I don't know what type of prophet he was supposed to be, but he had to leave me alone. Yeah, I'm gonna shut your foolishness down. You said it was the fake blank activists. It was them hustling activists. Yeah, Tony the Spot. A lot of people was feeling that way. Yeah, got it all day. People, African-American people have been treated shady over here in America since our ancestors got here. But Chinatown fit, you're right. It was some activists with no integrity who allegedly have done that before they even got to this case. That's their MO, their method of operating is just to be out there hustling. And so when some of us started giving donations to have a peer in my field look at the data, the electronically stored evidence, because that's what it is. Again, some people thought that we were hustling in Kenneka Jenkins' name. And I said, no, I don't play them games. I don't play them games. So I contacted Jeffrey Fiker and made it formal and said what I said. Us having a peer in my field and getting another opinion as it relates to this, that has nothing to do with compromising the integrity of that case. Absolutely nothing. And Justin got all that money. He got what he charged for services rendered, period, for his time and his services. We don't play them games over here. We got integrity over here. We don't play them games. Not at all. You said that, girl, you said from the beginning, Mama T clearly said, trust nothing unless it comes from her mouth. They cannot show J4K pulling, oh, yep, Kenneka Jenkins pulling up for free because she never walked herself in there. And I believe that. They don't have any proof to say she did. So guess what? I'm going with, she didn't. Y'all said y'all ain't had no camera to show it. So she didn't, not unless you can prove she did. She did. Juanita, no, Mama T didn't want the gangs to start retaliating because they would have. It's Illinois. You know the gangs in Illinois don't care. They would have, because they in Illinois shooting cops now. So we already know the gangs would have turned all the way up. All the way up. And they wouldn't have cared because they don't care now. And the gangs across the world don't care, or in the United States don't care. Definitely the gangs in Illinois. They would have started turning up. It would have been some police who were dead, but they down there now shooting at cops for whatever reason, you know, whatever their reason is or their issue is. But no, it was only because Mom T didn't want the gangs to turn up. She had, you know, that was her request, that they not start retaliating. Yeah, Rosemont been corrupt for a long time, Chinatown. And I know you know, because you got Chinatown over there, so you must be from Illinois somewhere. Oh, because they had more than one kitchen, Flower Bloom. They had more than one kitchen on the premises. Got it all day. You said shady, slavery. Celebration for the day. Juanita, you said, when do gangs listen? Well, they listen because they not only had Mama T talking to them, they had other members who used to be in gangs that are much older and different things like that. And, was telling them, we don't want that to overshadow and that be the narrative. We really want to try as much as possible to get some type of justice, some form of some type of justice without the gang activity or retaliation or whatever overshadowing J4K. So, but I tell you now, allegedly, according to the FBI, they down in there targeting police in Illinois, allegedly, according to the FBI. That's what the FBI is alleging. Hey, Carolyn, how you doing? That girl, I'm praying for natural sweep of all departments too. I'm in agreement with that prayer. Who are sworn to protect, but instead neglect their duties and just want to check. Yes. Let me read that again. That girl says she's praying for a natural sweep of all departments who are sworn to protect, but instead neglect their duties and just want to check. I'm in agreement with that prayer right there. Just go through and clean house from the top to the bottom and the bottom to the top. You said, yeah, you were born and raised in Chicago. And they know how y'all get down. You said it's called Crook County instead of Cook County. You said KKK undercover. Okay, everybody. Again, you can go back through and watch the videos on the part I wanted to come to and just provide some clarity. So like I said, when you're seeing hexadecimals and when you're seeing binary, numerical binaries, and you are looking at metadata, or you're looking at the report, and you're looking at the graphs, charts, different things like that, printouts, whatever is being submitted, you won't, be in shock and awe. You can go back, you can look at the definitions that I gave towards the beginning, and you'll be able to see and just have a little bit more clarity about what you're looking at. And then during our little project today, our little, what's edited and what's not. That was fun to me. Doing our little bitty project, mini pop-up project. That was pretty cool. So with that being said, I want to say this, we are still in a pandemic. Thank you all so much for streaming. We stand tall, we stand strong, and we are resolute in being a voice for the voiceless and fighting towards justice for those who cannot speak for themselves, as well as those who are underserved. Remember to wear your mask, everybody. Wash your hands. It's still a pandemic. Coronavirus ain't going nowhere. I don't care what line Pinocchio number 45 say. Over here, Pinocchio number 45 is Donald Trump, the one who lied every day, all day. I call him Pinocchio, and Pinocchioism has been occurring for the last 4+ years coming from his lips, as well as those who he surround themselves around. We got to be careful. We still in the pandemic. So let's stay safe and as vigilant as we can. If you do show up to participate in protests and any type of social actions or day of actions, make sure you are vigilant and make sure you stay safe. With that being said, thanks so much, everybody, for streaming. I'm going to drop, Amp got it on his channel, and I'll do it on this. I'm going to drop the PDF below to the file, so you could just go over it as many times as you want to. You can blow it up as big as you want to. You can read all the data from right to left, left to right, and you can analyze it yourself. And you can always just have it in your reference. All right. Oh, okay. Thank you, Fire Mama, with your beautiful kids. You got some darling. Oh, wow. Yep. So bye, everybody. Thank you, Got It All Day, and everybody else. Bye-bye. Have a pleasant evening and a pleasant night. Bye-bye, everybody. Plenty much love.